This video covers a few example problems about factor labeling. Here are the 10 problems that we're going to get into. You can pause your screen now, write them down, or you can do a screen capture and print them out. Here come the answers. In this example, I'm looking to convert 2 kilometers into yards. So I know I'm going to begin with kilometers in my map. And I'm going to look for a relationship to convert those into yards. This is minutes into seconds, yards into miles, inches into feet, days into years, inches into centimeters, millimeters, minutes into hours, kilometers into miles, yards into feet. There's nothing here that will allow me to directly go from kilometers into yards, so I'm going to see whatever I can bring kilometers into something else. And right down here I see that I can bring kilometers into miles. So kilometers will then transfer into miles. I still need to get these miles into yards, so now I'm going to continue to search for a relationship from miles into yards. So I look at this guy right up here, and it will say miles going into yards. So these miles go right to yards. This is my map. Once I have the map, I'm essentially done. I just need to set up 2 kilometers. I'm going to put it over 1 as a placeholder. I know I'm going to multiply next as I convert from kilometers into miles. I'm going to go back to this relationship. I'm looking to get rid of kilometers, so I'm going to put 1 kilometer on the bottom and 0.62 miles on the top. Why did I put the miles on the top and the kilometers on the bottom? Because the kilometers will then cancel. Whatever I want to cancel, I put them on opposite sides of one another. I got rid of kilometers. I now have miles. I want to go from miles into yards. I'm going to use this guy that we saw a little bit earlier to help us out. So 1 mile, again, the number stays with the unit, is 1,760 yards. I'm going to cancel out these miles, and the only unit I have left now are yards. And when I take everything on the bottom, 1 times 1 times 1, and know that there's no unit, I just get 1 on the bottom. So even if I wanted to write that, I'd have a 1. And when I take everything on the top, 2 times 0.62 times 1760, I'm going to get 2182 and carry through my unit. Nothing, nothing, nothing. Up, here's the yards. And 2182 divided by 1 is simply 2182 yards. This is my final answer, so I'm going to represent. In this example, I'm going to convert 5,643 inches into yards. I know I'm going to begin with inches. I'm going to start to build my map, and I'm going to look for something that will bring me directly from inches into yards. They're the same conversion factors that we saw before, and I know that there's nothing directly to take me from inches into yards, so I'm going to look for options. This guy here will bring me from inches into feet, but then as I cruise down, I also see I have an option. I can go from inches into centimeters. So now I have a choice I have to make, and this is where I kind of have to look ahead. These centimeters here, if I choose to go from inches into centimeters, the one below it will bring me from centimeters into millimeters. But then after that, this is a dead end, because once I reach these millimeters, I can't go anywhere else but back into centimeters, and then from centimeters back into inches. It's kind of going from one thing back to the other, back to the other, back to the other for no reason. You'll wind up where you started. So this guy here is a dead end. I'm not going to use him right now. But what I can do is I can go from inches into feet. And then right down here, I can bring those feet right into yards. And this is our map. So I'm going to start to build the setup. 5,643 inches. And as always, I'm going to throw that right over 1 as a placeholder. Next, I'm going to go from inches into feet, following my map right here. I want to get rid of inches, so they're going to go on the bottom. I know that there are 12 inches in 1 foot based on this information, and notice that the number has to stay with the unit. And then lastly, I'm going to convert from feet into yards. 3 feet and 1 yard. I want to get rid of the feet. 3 feet, 1 yard. The inches cancel, the feet cancel. I'm left with yards. That's my goal. I know I'm pretty good. I'm going to take this number times 1 times 1, and I'm going to wind up with 5,643. I have a unit to carry over. That's the yards. And then I'm going to take everything on the bottom, and I'm going to multiply it together. 12 times 3 is 36. And then in my calculator, I'm going to take 5,643 divided by 36, and I'm going to get 156.6 7.75 yards. Alright, for the remainder of the video, because these are a bit longer, I went ahead and typed them out instead of write them out to save time. I'm going to convert 2,123,864 millimeters into kilometers. Here are the same unit conversions that we had before. The only thing I did was made them horizontal across the screen to save space. I built my map, millimeters into centimeters, centimeters into inches, inches into feet, feet into yards, yards into miles, miles into kilometers. I did that by looking down here to look for relationships. Millimeters brought me into centimeters right here. Centimeters brought me into inches right over here. And then inches brought me into feet right over here. And then feet brought me into yards over here. And then yards brought me into miles right above it over here. And then miles brought me into kilometers right over, right here, the very last one. All right, I began to set it up. I have 2,123,864 millimeters. I put it over 1. I want to get rid of those millimeters and bring those into centimeters, so I put the millimeters on the bottom. They cancel out. I'm with centimeters now. I want to bring those centimeters and put them into inches, so I put the centimeters on the bottom, 2.54 centimeters. They cancel out. Inches are left. I want to go from inches into feet, so I canceled out the inches over here by putting the inches on the bottom over here. I now want to go from feet into yards, so I want to get rid of the feet, cancel them out right here, left with yards. And I want to go from yards into miles, so cancel out the yards by putting the 1,760 yards underneath. And I want to finally go from yards into kilometers, canceled out these miles here, and I'm left, from the miles into kilometers, I cancel out these miles here, and I'm left with kilometers. Now, how do you finish this off? All you need to do is take everything on the top and multiply it across, and you wind up with 2,123,864. There's a unit, nothing, 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 kilometers. Divided by, take your calculator and multiply 10 times 2.54 times 12 times 3 times 1760 times 0.62, and you'll get 9,977,93.28. When I take this, divide it into this 997,793.28 divided into 2,123,864, I get 2.13, bring my unit over, kilometers, represent the final answer. All right, here's one that's a little bit shorter. We're going from inches into miles. Here's my map, inches into feet, feet into yards, yards into mile. Got that from the same process of all the others, looking for relationships. Here's my setup. I have this many inches divided by 12 inches into 1 foot, so I can cancel those out. And then I want to go from feet into yards. So I put feet on the bottom here, left me with yards on the top, yards in a mile. So I put yards down here so they would cancel out, leaving me with miles over here. To solve this, I took everything on the top and multiplied it across. So I got 76,312,389. Looking for units, there's my miles. Divided by everything multiplied across on the bottom, which is 63,360. There's no unit left on the bottom. And when I divide this number into this number, I get 1,204.57 miles. If you rounded to 0.6, I'm okay with that. That's fine. Okay, looking at number 5, we have another quick problem here. We're going to convert 7,395,921 seconds into hours. So to do that, I'm going to go from seconds to minutes to hours. Here's what we have, 7,395,921 seconds over 1. I put that, multiply that times 1 minute over 60 seconds to go from seconds into minutes. I want to get rid of the minutes and go into hours. So I put minutes down below, hours on top, using the relationships that were given down here. Once you do that, you get 7,395,921 hours. I did that by this number times this, and here's our unit left. Divided by 60 times 60 is 3,600. And once you take this number and divide it into this number, you get 2,054.42 hours. Final answer. All right, here's another big problem. We're supposed to convert this many kilometers into inches. So I'm going to go from kilometers into miles, miles into yards, yards into feet, and feet into inches. Again, I just looked at all the relationships down here and walked from one to another. I began with I started with what I always have right over here. That's what I began with, over 1. I want to get rid of kilometers, so I put the relationship with kilometers on the bottom here. I wanted to go then from miles into yards. So I canceled out my miles here, wound up with yards. I want to go from yards into feet, so I put yards down here, cancel out those feet, and I want to go from feet into inches, cancel them out right here. Once you do that, the bottom is looking pretty easy. Everything on the bottom is 1. So to solve this problem, take everything on the top and multiply it together. This number times this number times this number times this number times this number. And you're going to get 0.23 inches. All right, same as before. We're looking to convert this many inches into kilometers. Same process. Build a map using the relationships below. Here's the map that I got. Inches into feet, feet into yards, yards into miles, miles into kilometer. The only thing that's different here is this is scientific notation. Let me take a little time out here and tell you that using scientific notation in your calculator can be tricky, but there's a couple of things that if you know how to use your calculator, it can make it really simple. I'm going to put a little tutorial on how to use your calculator properly on the website. If you're not sure how to put scientific notation into your calculator, please watch that video. It'll just take a couple minutes. All right, so we have 6.41 times 10 to the 9th inches. I want to go from inches into feet, so I put my relationship of 1 foot to 12 inches here. Feet into yards. Cancel out my feet with yards on the top. Yards into mile. Cancel out my yards with mile on the top. And miles into kilometer. Once I do that, everything on the top multiplied together is 6.41 times 10 to the 9 kilometers. And everything on the bottom multiplied together is 39,283.2. When I take this, divide it into this, in my calculator, I will get 163,174.08 kilometers. And represent my final answer. All right, going to speed these last couple up just in the interest of time. Here's my map, going from miles into yards, yards into feet, feet into inches, and inches into centimeters. The only unit I'm left with is centimeters. That's what I'm looking for, and I wanted to convert miles into centimeters. I successfully did that. Take everything on the top and multiply it together. We don't need to worry about the bottom because it's all ones. And you're going to wind up with 145.0 centimeters. All right, I'm looking to convert 7.24 times 10 to the 7 seconds into years. Here's the map that I made. I'm going to check to make sure my units cancel. Seconds cancel out, minutes cancel out, hours cancel out, days cancel out. And I'm only left with years. That's what I was looking for. And by the time you're all done, take everything on the top, multiply it. Take everything on the bottom and multiply it. Punch it onto your calculator, and you're going to get 2.30 years. And represent your final answer. Number 10, we're going to convert this many kilometers into inches. Be careful, this is a negative exponent up here. This many kilometers into inches. Kilometers cancel out, miles cancel out, yards cancel out, feet cancel out. Following my map, which I used these guys down here to help me build, I only have inches left. I know I'm doing something right. And by the time I'm all done, I'm going to get 0.0016 inches. And here's a bonus problem. I'm not going to show you how to do it. You can go ahead and hit pause. You can copy it down. You can copy and paste it and print it. Go ahead and tackle it for tomorrow. Show it to me when you get in class.